Welcome to the Mortgage Wise radio show and video podcast,
Hoo-ah.
where we educate and provide expert advice on personal finance, mortgages, and real estate investing.
Show me the money.
As a result of what we do, our team has helped hundreds of first-time buyers, experienced buyers, and real estate investors achieve their goals of homeownership.
I wonder if there's a connection there.
Here are your executive producers and mortgage advisors, Randy and Veronica Chambliss.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Wise radio show. I am Randy Chambliss, the Executive Director of Louisiana Housing Authority, and also a corporate branch manager with Geneva Financial. And I have to my right.
I am Veronica Chambliss. I am also a corporate branch manager with Geneva Financial and a housing director of Louisiana Housing Authority. So, ladies and gentlemen, this episode, we are going to discuss the benefits and guidelines of hard money and how to get access to hard money and private money loans to invest in real estate deals. So for deals like fix and flips, rentals, and new construction. So the first thing we're going to discuss is the definition of hard money. What is hard money or private money, Randy? Can you tell us that?
Oh, absolutely. So private money and hard money is two different funds, right? Private money is more or less that person who is a family member, right? A friend, a colleague, or it could be your own money, right? And that's just your personal private money that you're using to fund your real estate deals, right? It could be your IRA or 401k that you may have, right? A lot of people don't realize that you can actually roll over your IRA, 401k, you can roll it over to a self-directed IRA and have checkbook control to invest in real estate, right? So that's private money.
Mm-hmm. And also these goes back into that account. It is a retirement account.
Correct. So depending on whether you have a Roth or traditional, whether you're getting tax deferred going in or tax coming out, this depends on your financials, whatever you decide. But good point, Veron. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
And hard money is more or less a entity, right? Or a group of people that decided, say, you know what? We don't want to particularly invest in real estate, but we do want to invest, right? Mm-hmm. And so they want to have a minimum risk. So what they do, they pool their money together, right? And they form an entity, a LLC, Inc. Corp, whatever, right? And they pool their money together and they lend that money out to investors for profits, right? They charge points on that money and they charge interest rate on the money, and it allows them to make a rate of return, right? So that's the big difference between private money and also hard money.
And when you say points, it's prepaid interest of the money that you borrowed that's paid at closing.
Correct.
Right? That's what points is. Also, what else? The rate, the interest rates. Right. So the interest rates are a little bit higher than your traditional loans as well.
Correct. And
they are short-term loans, anywhere from 12 to 13 months.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine for a moment you have, $500,000 that you have, or $250,000 that you have, and you want to lend that money out, right? That's your hard-earned money. And so you're not the bank, so you can't wait 30 years, to, little by little correct, interest on that money. You want to be able to make sure that when you lend your money as an investor, you want to have it come back to you as fast as you can, as much as you can. So that's why it's a short-term loan, 12 to 13 months, just to give you enough time to buy the property, rehab it, and sell it if you're going to sell it. Or if it's new construction, give you enough time to buy the lot, build it, and sell it. Or if it's going to be a rental, give you enough time to fix it and get it to rental condition, then refinance, right? And so, yes, the points or the origination fees up front is paid because they want the interest up front, right? They don't want to wait on their money. And then secondly, the interest is a little bit higher than a traditional bank because it's quicker money. The process is more simple. They don't ask for a whole lot of documents, so on and so forth. So that leads us to the second point.
Because you might be saying, well, why would I want a hard money loan if it's a higher rate? I have to pay points and fees and stuff like that. So why would I want a hard money loan? So
absolutely.
what are some of those benefits?
Right. And before I jump into benefit, I'm gonna tell you a quick story, right? Veronica, I hope you don't mind.
Oh, no, because I know what story you're about to say.
Tell you a
Because
quick
I wanted to
story.
start out with the story and forgot.
Oh, yeah. That's why we're a team. We're gonna tell this story. So quick background, you know, a lot of you guys may know me. If you don't, I was born and raised in New Orleans. I come from a two-parent household. I had an older brother that was giving me information. He was 11 years older than me. But still, even though I had all that support at home, I became an at-risk youth growing up in the city of New Orleans. And at the age of 19, I became a struggling teenage father. And by the time I made 25 years old, I lost everything in Hurricane Katrina, right? I was making really good money. I had a profession. I was an engineer by trade, right? Station engineer by trade. I was making really good money, but I didn't have a financial education. I didn't have a personal financial plan. So my money was coming in, going right out the door. My point of saying that when Hurricane Katrina hit, I lost everything that I owned. Water was to the roof. Couldn't save even a photo, right? Nothing, nada, right? And at that time, I had less than $500 in my bank account. I had my credit score was horrible. I'll be the first one to tell you, it was in the low 500s. And I found a mentor. One was my older brother. He gave me the blueprint of how he purchased his house 1 year prior to Hurricane Katrina. So I had that guidance, but also found another mentor who was a senior vice president with a global financial service company. And he taught me the rules of money. He introduced me to financial strategies and financial planning. And so throughout that year of Hurricane Katrina, I was actually saving my money, getting my finances in order. And 1 year later, at the age of 26 years old, in December 2006, I bought my first home. 30 days later, I bought my first rental property, right? So fast forward some years, right? I met my wife, Veronica. And so we decided to start investing together as a couple. So our very first project was at least very interesting, right? I would say it was some challenges that we had to grow through, right? Life, I always believe, hey, life is gonna give you a challenge just to test to see, do you really want it, right? Do you really want that goal, or are you just talking, right?
Mhm.
It's just a pipe dream, or do you really, really want it?
Easy to talk about.
Right, so life is gonna test you. Life certainly tested us at that moment. So what we did, right? When my wife and I, we got married, we bought a home. We bought it at a discount. It was a bank-owned property, REO. We probably put about, I don't know,
30,000.
about 30,000 into it. My wife had the kitchen she wanted, the paint color she wanted, the floor she wanted, the bathroom she wanted, everything what she wanted. We probably purchased it, what, 50,000?
51,000.
So we purchased the property at 51,000. So we was all in for about, I don't know, 90, 85,000. Yeah, so it was good, yeah. So it was all in for 90,000. But the day that we turned the keys, after everything was repaired, the property was worth $160,000, right? So we created sweat equity that was in it. So our idea was, hey, you know, a couple of things always happening. One is either you needed the credit score of 700 plus, right, to invest in real estate. And this was 2016, I think it was.
2012.
12. Damn, I'm way off, right?
Yeah. You way older now, so.
Oh, she playing games. All right, man. Well, I always tell the kids in the household, we joke with the children. I said, mine was born in the 1900s, so don't worry about mine.
And I said, Dad was born in the 70s, so we'll come first.
So, you know, having said that, you know, we had the equity in the house, but we didn't have the cash to start the investment, because in our mind, right, we've been taught at that time I was a lender, right? I've been a mortgage lender licensed originally since 2008. So I knew the guidelines of investing in traditional lending, right? And so I knew we needed a 700 plus credit score. We needed 20% down, plus rehab costs, all this good stuff.
So in our mind, we think we need what, $30,000, $40,000 to close on a house,
right?
To flip a house.
Exactly. So we balancing. Okay, we got high credit score now. We have the money to cash. Oh, but our debt to income ratio is kind of low, so we couldn't get qualified.
Right. Yeah.
So then we have our debt to income ratio is high. Finally, we have credit scores is high. Then we didn't have the cash to close what we thought what we needed. Right. So it's always a juggle between these three items: debt to income ratio, credit scores, and the cash to close.
Right. So we never had three things that match, you know?
Right. Never had those three things. And meanwhile, we're looking at people coming to us for these loans, for investor loans. I'm like, well, if they can do it, I know we can do it. We didn't did it before. We just haven't done it together, right? So finally, we decided, you know what, let's refinance the house, pull cash out of it. We have the equity. The timing was right. The interest rates were pretty low at that time, and we did that, right? We worked very hard. You guys, whoever refinanced out, went through a home loan, you know, there's a lot of documents, right? So we finally got through that process. And
at that time, the credit score was like 700 something,
Yes.
right where we needed it.
Right where we needed it.
Pulled out the money, right?
Well-
And also we had been searching for a house for almost a year.
Right, I forgot to tell that part. So just to back up a little bit, when we did have all three items together, we couldn't find a property, right? Couldn't find a deal for nothing. It was like, damn, like we have everything, we couldn't find a deal, right? So finally, everything was aligned. We had the house, we had the equity, the credit score, DTI was nice, and the mortgage company where we was working for at that time actually did our refinance, right? So we refinanced, walked away from the table with a nice check, and that was our go money, right? That monopoly, I like to call it, get out of jail money, right?
Right.
That's your investment money, right?
So we figured, you know what, we ready. Let's go. Let's go get this house. Let's go.
We already know what house it was. Like we was
Yeah.
ready for the offer. So immediately, once we closed that loan, have the check in our hand, we immediately did an application for the investment loan, right? Through the same company we was working for. And lo and behold, Veronica had a surprise. And what the surprise was is that she kind of forgot we had a family member that was working with us, and they had a device for us, right? I think it was an internet card, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
the air cards.
Yeah, the air card.
Sprint.
Right.
And I totally forgot about it. For a long time they had it, they was paying a bill, but then at that moment, when we finally had everything that matched,
That
we had a
moment,
purchase contract, we had our down payment, we had the credit score, our debt to income ratio was like, yeah, like ready to go, right?
perfect.
Pull the credit. Now this is right
1
after the
week later,
refinance.
right? 1 week later after refinance, keep that in mind, pulled the credit, and our lender called us and was like, listen,
Veronica, check these numbers out.
right. Like, well, what happened? Her credit score dropped like
Almost 100 points.
almost 100 points, from 700 all the way down to 600, 590, something crazy.
6 something, right?
Right.
Yeah, about 630. It went to 630.
Right.
So it went from a 730 to a 630, all because of that collection for $100.
$100 collection.
Yeah.
Now, the family member, we was all good with the family member. There wasn't no problem with that. It was just the timing. They were like, "Oh, you kidding me?"
And
like,
I immediately bust out in tears.
Right. She was heartbroken, right? And so at that, because we needed a 700 credit score, right? Period, point blank. So again, the family member was great. We had no problem. Still to the day, great relationship. It was just that particular moment. It happened, but everything happens for a reason. That's how we look at it, right? There's a reason for it. We're being guided down the path, right? And so having said that, what that done for us, that made us to start researching other financing options, right? Because only thing we knew was traditional lending. And without having a 700 credit score, this deal was over with. So diligently, we started searching, and then we stumbled across, lo and behold, a term called hard money. We didn't know what the hell that was, right? But we knew that it could be something that could benefit us. So long story short, we ended up finding this hard money lender. It wasn't the best in the world by no means. They charged us like
out the wazoo.
Out the wazoo. We had like 15 point, no, it was like, what was it, 18%?
18%.
Yeah, it was 18%
interest rate,
APR. It was 5 points that they charged us, and it made us buy a course for like $1,800 that we didn't need, right? But they forced us to buy this course because it's called a quote unquote a membership, right? But we did it anyway. Why did we do it? Because the numbers made sense. Because the property that we was buying, it was a New Orleans property, right? And in fact, it was in New Orleans East, right? It's New Orleans East property. And it was similar to the house that we owned, right? Remember, we did a renovation in our own home, 2-story home, four bedroom, 2.5 bath. So it was exactly the exact same model. So we knew what products to use. We knew what it was going to cost. Like, we knew everything. And so we knew the numbers. We knew what it was going to sell for, right? And so after we did the calculations, we looked at the 18% interest, we looked at the 5 points, and then we calculated and said, well, we still going to make money, a lot of money, right? So we decided to move forward, and we did, right? And we ended up having a contract on the house before we even
Before we even started the renovation.
Before we started the renovation, guys, we already had a contract on the house for it to be sold. And once it was sold, we walked away after we paid everything off, still with about $26,000, $28,000, I believe it was, off that deal. Now, why is that story so important? Because that just show you how important leverage is, because they wasn't worrying about a 700 credit score, right? They was able to get the deal done with that. They wasn't worrying about our debt to income ratios. They was looking at the deal. Does the deal make sense, or do the deal make sense? And that's how they funded it, right? Now, since that time, we continued to do some research, and we stumbled across some private guys, some private women, right? Private money. And then we also found some other hard money lenders. And so a few of them, right? We have a handful of them, but we personally use all the time. We've helped other people finance their deals through them. So we're going to give you some guidelines and some benefits, right? Because that's step 2, benefits and guidelines of why hard money and private money. So let's read them off, right? One of the first benefits I would say will be quicker process. It's a quicker process. Veronica, why is it's a quicker process in your opinion?
Well, it's a quicker process because, for one, they don't ask for a whole lot of documents. Once they do get the deal, because there's some upfront work you have to do. You have to fill out the budget sheet and stuff like that. Once that's done, we send it in, they pull the credit, and bam, they give you a preliminary HUD, basically showing you your bottom line number you have to come to closing with, your monthly payment and stuff like that. After that, and that's done, and you submitted all the paperwork that they did need, like your bank statements and your business entity documents, because hard money loans only lend to a business entity.
Correct.
Yeah. So once you submit all of those documents, then they can immediately order the appraisal. So once that appraisal come back, then they can close within what? The whole turnaround time is about 2 weeks.
Right. Correct.
If nothing crazy pops up, and as long as the title work is in and stuff like that. So that makes it a quicker process versus traditional lending, 30 to 45 days.
Right. And then right now in our market, still almost considered as a seller's market, which means when our inventory is low, they don't have enough houses on the market, especially investment property. So when one pop up, you jumping on it real quick, and you may have some competition, right? And so you need to have quick closing, because that'll help you to kind of maybe beat the rest of those individuals making those offers. So number 1, that is a quicker process. Number 2 is that the hard money lender is going to help you not only purchase the property, but also give you the funds for the rehab. Majority of the time, right? Majority of the time, the traditional lender, that bank, right? They're not going to give you funds for the rehab. The house have to be in move-in condition, right? So that weeds a lot of people out of the investment world, because they don't have the cash for the rehab, right? So they're only going to get the purchase price. So with hard money, you're going to get the purchase price, meaning that the seller is going to get paid off at the closing. They have their money and they're going to Hawaii, right? But number 2, your rehab budget, or whatever your construction budget, is going to go into a escrow account. And it's going to go in this escrow account for you to draw off that, right? No money from the rehab is going to be dispersed to you up front, right? You have to get the project started, right? Typically, your contractor, if you're using one, they're going to get it started, right? Or if you're not using the contract, using yourself, you might go in there and you start, buying the dumpster, open top dumpster container, right? You may start doing some demo, right? You might start doing X, Y, and Z. So now once you finish the demo, you have the open top container. Now you might call in for an inspection, right? The inspector will go out and review what you've done, make notes, and then whatever you spent, they will release that money to you out of that escrow, right? So you need that money up front to get started with the rehab, but it's reimbursed to you as you go along, right? So that's a big piece for that hard money, right?
And you said another benefit. They can actually be their own contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually be your own contractor. So a bank is not going to let you do the work yourself. They're going to want you to use a licensed contractor versus a hard money lender. As long as the work get done and you prove you know the numbers, and they'll let you do it.
Right, because you managing your own project. You're the project manager, right? So good point. I missed that. The next one benefit is the debt to income ratio
isn't counted.
is not counted.
So for my people that have student loans, what that means? You can still invest in real estate.
For my people that have who are self-employed, that write everything off, right?
Who tell you, I make $100,000 a year, but when you get the tax return, you're looking like
you wrote off $120,000, right? You're negative $20,000. So yeah, so
you can still invest in real estate.
That's right. You can still
as long as you have the cash to close and the deal makes sense.
Correct. Basically, that's what it is. All boils down to. So the debt to income ratio, that's not even calculated, right? Next benefit, the debt does not show up on your personal credit report. That's huge. Very huge, right? Now, it's an inquiry to check your credit report, right? And traditionally, it's about between 620 and 660. Before COVID, it was 620 all day long. During COVID, you're right, it was 600 before COVID-19. During COVID, it went to 660 and 680. Right now, they kind of dropped down to 660 to 620 up in there, really. This depends. So some variables in play. But you don't need that 700 credit score. You don't need that 680. Well, my point is, you have an inquiry on your personal credit report, but it never shows up as a debt. Why? Because you take title, as Veronica mentioned, in your entity name, right? It's a business to business loan. In other words, it's a commercial loan. That's what basically it is. Meaning that you can have 5 projects going on at one time. None of them will hit your credit report. The DTI ratio will never be disturbed. And as long as you have enough money to put down and enough reserves and have your team in place, you could have 5 or 6 properties being rehabbed at the same time, all new construction.
And that's the next benefit. You can have multiple loans at one time.
That's right. So that's the next benefit, right? Next is fewer requirements, right? Most of you guys know when you go to that lender, there's a lot of documents that you have to have. Some lenders have overlays, so they want additional documents than what the guidelines require. But with hard money, it's basically an ID, right? 2 months bank statements just to prove that you do have the cash to close, right? 3, they do want tax returns. They want to be able to see that you have this entity. You don't have to be an old entity, it could be a new entity, but they do want to see tax returns, right? And what else? Oh, a construction budget. They want to see the construction budget. Your contractor could create it, or you can create it, right? So it's just simple documents like that. Like you turn it in, the investor look at it and they say, yep, I think this is a pretty good risk, right? Let's move forward.
One thing they don't ask for is what? Pay stubs.
Yep.
People ask me that all the time. So do I have to provide pay stubs?
Nope.
Nope.
You don't have to provide pay stub. The next is leverage, right? You want to use OPM. You heard this term before. Other people money. Why? Because you want to keep your cash in your bank for another investment opportunity or something else, right? Now, by all means, if you have the cash, you don't need the hard money. By all means, do what you do, right? This is not a product for everybody. This is not a one size fit all. It worked for me and Veronica because we was in the crunch. We had a challenge that we had to overcome. So either we did the hard money loan and paid the high interest rate, right? Or we walk away from the deal and make nothing.
Right.
For us, it was beneficial. We walked away with about $26,000 check after we did it, right? Now, if we had the information we have today and the resources we have today, it would have been way more than $26,000 on that deal. And so what we did, we've just been leveraging other people's money as we do our real estate transaction. My wife and I, we very aggressively in 2016 was buying, rehabbing properties and flipping. By the time 2017, 2018, we started building new construction properties from the ground up. Beautiful 12-foot ceiling, 5-inch tongue and groove, hot pine floors, custom cabinet, the whole 9, right? And so we use private money, partners of ours, right? And then we leverage hard money, right? And so that way we could do a couple of projects at a time. But again, you have to look at the benefits for yourself, right? So now let's talk a little bit about private money, right? Private money is a family member, a friend, a business colleague, somebody that maybe have some cash, 20,000, 100,000, $250,000, 2.3 million, right? And they just simply want to make a rate of return on their money so they don't spend all their money, right? And so you could work some deals out, have a relationship with that person. Listen, I found this property. This is what the numbers look like. I think I can sell it for this amount. The rehab budget is going to be this. Are you interested in lending money? Are Again, whether it's 20,000, whether it's 100,000, it doesn't matter, right? You work out the deal, whatever you guys work out with the rate of return, and they can wire the money directly to the title company. You don't never have to get the money, right? They can wire the money directly to the title company to make the transaction clean, and now you're able to have your cash to really get the ball rolling, right? Now, with private money, there's no credit check at all, right? There's no paperwork you got to bring in. It's not even the ID, because most likely that private money lender know you, right? And so it's just a quick transaction, right? Now, we do have private money lenders in our network that we built over the years, and some of the guidelines for them is that, like, I'll give you a quick story where one young lady gave us a call, and she had a property. She was moving to California. The property was free and clear, right? She didn't owe anything on it. It was in a Gentilly area in New Orleans, right? Real good area. And she needed some cash to, one, rehab the property to bring it to very good condition to the market, and two, some money so she could move to go to California. So she contacted us, and after we asked some questions, we found out what the after repair value was going to be, because hard money lenders, we lend up to 70% of the after repair value. So that number was fine. And long story short, we was able to refinance that property for, well, not refinance, put a mortgage on the property, and she walked away with about $85,000 cash, right? She didn't do an application. She didn't turn in bank statements. She didn't turn in nothing. The only two things we required was an ID, a business entity that she had, so that was number two, and then the third one was an appraisal, right? We have to have an appraisal to find out what the after repair value is going to be, right? And the as is value. So my point is, I use the private money. Somebody in my network got a ton of money, right? We can pull on the coattail when we need to if we have money available. And she closed within about 2 weeks, maybe about 4 days after we have the appraisal, and it was a done deal. So we have that available for private money. That's why it's so important to build your relationships, right? And be trustworthy, right? Trustworthy. I can't express that enough. So let's go.
You're listening to the Mortgage Wise radio show and video podcast.
It's absolutely crucial.
To find out more and for the podcast library, visit themortgagewiseradioshow.com or call 504-270-2783. Now back to the show with your executive producers and mortgage advisors, Randy and Veronica Chambliss.
A short-term investment financing. This is basically a fix and flip product, right? So what that looks like, is, hold on, guys. Let me get some things out of here. All right. So the fix and flip product, we lend 70%. I'm on this left-hand side, right? 70% of the after repair value. So whatever that appraiser go out and say, oh, this home can sell for $230,000. Then you want to take $230,000 times 70%, and then that's going to give you your max loan amount. That max loan amount is going to cover one, your purchase price, and it's going to cover your rehab budgets. Both of them have to be within it, right? The interest rate could start anywhere between 7.5%, but it could go up to 12%, depending on the experience. It depends on the property. It's different variables in place. We've been seeing about 10%, right? And so when you look at some of those benefits we talked about earlier, the long term is about 13 months. It can be extended at 3-month increments, right? So if we had 13 months, you couldn't sell a property, then you request an extension, right? Having said that, with the fix and flip property, that you can put down 10%, right? Up 10% of the purchase and rehab costs, right? Not 20% or 25%, right? If it's a fix and flip, we are right around 10%. Sometimes it might be 20%, depending on the deal, right? Depending on some variables. But traditionally, again, 13-month terms, let's say it's 10% interest rate. And what that looks like is this. Let's say that you have $100,000 loan, right? And 10% of $100,000 is what?
10,000.
All right. So we take that, the interest rate that we charge, and we divide that by 12. So let's say it's $100,000 times 10%. We take that and divide that $10,000 by 12 months. So that's going to be, hold on a second. That'd be $833 a month, right? Because your monthly payment is not going to be principal and interest and escrows. Your monthly payment is just going to be your interest, right? So when you're doing your calculations, when you're doing your budget, you want to make sure how long you think you're going to hold the house, because you want to calculate your interest only payments. If you're going to hold it for 4 months, you think, then you want to calculate 4 months of interest payments. You want to calculate 4 months of utility costs, right? Water bill, gas bill, electricity bill, right? You want to calculate all of these things. So, having said that, we have different products, right? You can get access to the fix and flip product. You can have access to what we call our rental program. It's a rental 30. So for 30 years, you can buy the property. It's a fixed rate. It's locked in for 30 years. Same guidelines occur. Business to business loan is not going to affect your debt to income ratio. It's not going to show up on your personal credit report. And so our rental program does require 20 to 25% down because it's a rental, right? And so just understand that point. And we do have a new construction product that we're just rolling out as well. It was here prior to COVID-19, but it has come back finally, right? Meaning that if you are in a position where you have a lot, or you know where some lots at, you can go and build a new construction project as an investor, get that property sold, and make your money, right? So those are some of the products. Again, new construction, refinance, rental 30, and the fix and flip. And we do have refinance hard money as well. Also, we talked about having private money, getting access to that private money, right? We have private money lending, nice chunk of change he have, and he is lending. We lend 65% of the as-is value, right? I want you to really get that. Private money, 65% of the as-is value. It does not give you any rehab costs, so you have to either come up with your own money with the rehab cost, or if it's a rental property, it's a perfect fit, right? Our story we told, if you refinance and then pull out some cash, then it's a great deal, right? To be able to get that good money, like the story told with that young lady that was moving to California. So, having said that, anything you want to add to that, Veronica?
Yeah, one of the benefit that we didn't cover was like joint ventures. So let's say if you have somebody that doesn't meet some of the requirements, like for example, the credit score. So you might have, my partner might have a 620 and I might have the cash. Well, we can partner up and still do the deal. Correct?
Correct. It's creative. So in real estate investing, you have to have the mindset of being creative, right? It's not one direction, it's not one way, right? You can be creative. And so you're right, you can partner up with different people. Jane Doe in Uptown might have a 680 credit score, but she don't have no money, right? John Doe downtown might have the money, but his credit score, so you might be able to make that partnership. Right. So having said that, guys, let's talk a little bit about our quote of the week. Is that okay, Veronica?
That's okay.
So here's our quote of the week, guys. We getting ready to wrap this thing up. The quote of the week is, people are more comfortable with a familiar discomfort than they are with an unfamiliar new possibility. I'm gonna say that again. People are more comfortable with a familiar discomfort than they are with an unfamiliar new possibility. So I want you guys to be thinking about that it's possible, right? You don't have to believe right now. Just know that it's possible. You might be saying, I never invested in real estate before, or I did it one time and it didn't work out too well. Well, it's just something that you didn't know, right? So you want to find a mentor, a coach, someone that you can ask questions to, right? Build a relationship with that person. They'll feed you some information, or pay them, right? Pay somebody, pay for coaching, right? We pay for coaching all the time, right? Yeah. And so we have a lot of coaches that you see right now that's talking to you on this podcast. So, you want to make sure that if you don't believe right now, that's okay, but just know that it's possible. and just try to think from the place that you want to be, right? So that way, the possibility of the unfamiliar, what it would look like if you do win, right? If you do flip one house, right? That's we always say, what if you just learn how to flip one house and you make yourself 30,000, 25,000, 50,000, and you pay off your debts, right? Maybe do 2-3 houses, now you paid off your student loans, right? What would that look like, right? It don't have to be a long-term investment. It don't have to be something you're gonna do sustainable for years and years. Just get in and out if you have. Just get in and out, pay off your mortgage, now you're debt free. So listen, guys, we enjoyed this today. I can be reached on Facebook and on Instagram at Mr. Randy Chambliss. My direct number, you can text me is 504-270-2783. And you can also find me online at randyknowsmortgages.com. Right?
And I can be reached on the same platforms, Facebook and Instagram, Veronica Chambliss, online at VEEknowsmortgages.com, and my contact number 504.
Awesome. Listen, guys, this has been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you today. Make sure you like this video, share it, tell a friend about the podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day on purpose. God bless. Take care.
Take care.
That brings today's show to a close.
Oh, come on!
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Wise radio show and video podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with a friend and subscribe. Please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at the Mortgage Wise Radio Show. If you want to learn more about what we talked about today, give us a call at 504-270-2783. Or to view our podcast library, please visit our website, themortgagewiseradioshow.com.
Autobots, roll out!
Until next time, choose to have a great day on purchase, Mortgage Wise friends.
Go home.